Hi, my name is Hope Villegas, and this is my video submission for the final discussion blog for my class of English 2130. We'll go ahead and say I have all my key points written out on a Word document, so if I keep looking this way, I'm just looking to refresh my mind of the key points I want to hit. But the event that I chose for the time frame of April 2020 through April 2021 would be the Great Divide that happened due to the loss of George Floyd. The quote I chose was by Sherman Alexie, and it says, "I do not have to participate in another's culture's ceremonies in order to respect that culture." So to me, this quote strongly represents the loss of George Floyd. While it does not represent all of the time frame, it does represent a large portion, since there was a lot of riots and pain connected to the loss of George Floyd during this time frame. And the reason that this quote represents the event around the loss of George Floyd is because there's always been a divide in America among races, among law enforcement and races, going along like stereotyping, just racism in general, and anything along that lines. There's always been that divide in America, but the loss of George Floyd greatened that divide. There was people who stood with the Black Lives Matter movement, whether they were white, Asian, Mexican, or black. They stood with the movement on one side. And then there was the other side, which was the people with the law enforcement who stood and said those cops were just doing their jobs. There was nothing, like, we understand that there might have been too much force there, but like in the end the cops still had to do their jobs. So that just greatened the divide, and within that divide you saw riots and chaos and pain and anger, just magnitude, like grow to great disproportion. And then you had your few who stood in the middle. They supported either both sides, or they just thought that everybody was just blowing it completely out of proportion. But the reason I say that this quote represents this event is because all throughout social media, all throughout the news, all you saw was people who wouldn't seem like they should fit into the groups that they said they were standing for them. It was a major thing for a very long time after the loss of George Floyd, as, not just in case anyone doesn't know, to kneel, put your hand up in the air in a fist to show your support to the Black Lives Matter movement, who are fighting for justice for George Floyd and for the rights of Black American citizens. And on social media, on the news, during the riots, or even if they weren't at riots, on social media, you saw a large proportion of white people, Asians, people who weren't black, who wouldn't fit in what was said to be the Black Lives Matter movement picture. They weren't Black American citizens. They were standing there, they were kneeling, and they were putting their hands up in the fist. They were saying, hey, I am not black. I am, like me, if I was to do it, it would be me saying, I am not black. I am white. I understand you're saying I have these privileges. I understand I have these privileges. I don't struggle when a cop pulls me over wondering, is this, like, how is this gonna end? Am I gonna go to jail? This is bad. I'm not fearful of a cop, as these black people are. And there were so many people who stood alongside that movement. They're saying, hey, I understand this, and I support you, I stand with you. Even though your struggles are not my struggles, I stand by you to fix your struggles, to help you in your struggles, to fight for your justice. However, counterpoint of this divide, you also saw large portions of black police officers who were like, these are my brothers in arms that are up on the chopping block right now. And this is my culture, these are my people, but yet I can still see both sides. I can see why my culture is angry, but I still stand with my brothers in arms because I know we're not all bad. And then you have the people, again, who are in the middle, which I was one of them. I was raised by cops. My whole family is either cop or military, but I have a lot of black friends. I'm also half Hispanic, so I know what it's like to be told no or brought down because of that. So I could see both aspects. I did not kneel because that would be showing disrespect to my family, but I also did not agree. So throughout this whole event, during April 2020 through April 2021, while America was divided, you still saw so many people going towards people who normally they wouldn't stand with. Normally they would stay with their culture, with their people, and you would just, there's always been that divide within America, melting pot, and people go with who they are like. But you saw just everyone all over the internet, throughout all of America, just saying, no, I either support this side or this side. Even if it's not my culture, it's not my beliefs, they're not my people, I stand with them. You saw plenty of people who didn't have any connections to the cops like I did, or military like I did, still stand with them. Still saying, hey, George Floyd did something to have end with him getting arrested. Yes, he died, but he still did something to get there. So I stand with the law enforcement. They were doing their jobs. Yes, they might have used too much excessive force, but they were still doing their jobs. He did something to put himself in that situation. And then you had the people who may even have been raised by cops sitting there saying, no, they used too much force. I stand with this community. So to me, that quote just represents the bonding of two different sides. While there was still so much pain and agony during that whole divide, that quote just represents each side coming together in their own, even if they didn't belong to that group on a normal day-to-day. They stood with them and said, I fight with you because I understand you, I respect you. So to me, that is why that quote represents so much of the whole aspect around the George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement and everything around that event in America. Thank you for your time.